So I found myself in Fallujah the following year. I was out there, and we fought 2 horrible battles there. Before the battles were fought, there was a tenuous peace that we were hanging on to. And one day out on the street, I was out there on my tank, and a man came up to my position. And I got down and I greeted him. You know, you have to get very in tune to the culture, so you greet him locally. I said, Assalamu alaikum, it means peace be with you. He greeted me back, and he told me he was the mayor of Fallujah, and he wanted to speak to my battalion commander. So I called him, he's on the way. And while he was on the way, this mayor was very nervous, and he had a bodyguard with him. And they were just nervous, and we were in a bad part of town in Fallujah. And he said, if he takes much longer, somebody's going to kill me out here. And I thought, wow, what courage, what faith, what belief. What belief these guys must have. And I was so proud. I was so proud of this mission. I was doing everything in life I ever wanted to do. Well, he would have his meeting with my battalion commander. Things would go south shortly thereafter, and that's when we would fight those battles. And that's where my life would change for that moment, from that moment forward. It was on April 7th, 2004. I was commanding a tank. I was leading an attack in a place called the Jolan district. I was in the lead tank. I had another tank behind me, had a platoon of infantry. I was in contact with about a squad size, about a dozen enemy insurgents. I was pursuing them down a narrow street. I'm in a tank. Life is looking good for me and very bad for them. Everything is going great. I was heading into an intersection. It was about 1 in the afternoon in 2004, April 7th. And if you'd have asked me going into that intersection, you'd have said, Gunny, what do you want to do with the rest of your life? I'd have said, oh man, I'm doing it. This is everything in life I've ever wanted to be. I'm a tank commander. I'm helping oppress people become free. I'm a career Marine. Life don't get no better than this. I will do this till the day I die. Well, life was going to have a change in store for me in that intersection. That intersection is a good place to get hit from the flanks, so I took my loader. I put him down below the armor line. I hunkered down. I head in that intersection. I scan to my right for enemy. There was an enemy fighter who was on a rooftop, very close. He's about as close as the back of this room from me, about 50 feet away. He's got a rocket-propelled grenade. For those of you not into military stuff, it's just what the name suggests. It's a grenade with a rocket to make it go. And he's looking right at the whole side of my tank. And I got to tell you, by this point in my life, I had a pretty healthy disrespect for our enemy's ability to fight. I used to tell my Marines, if they're shooting at you, you're perfectly safe. If they're shooting somebody around you, you might want to grab some cover. You might get hit by accident. But at this range, he wasn't going to miss. He's very close. And he's looking right at the flank of the tank. So I went down into my turret, and he squeezed his round off and fired right into the side of my tank. Doesn't do it, doesn't penetrate nothing, because I'm in an M1A1 main battle tank. Best tank in the world. It eats up these RPGs like nothing. So life's good. I'm getting ready to swing my machine gun over and do what I do for a living. And then I heard a second hiss. That's what the noise an RPG makes as it cuts through the air. It makes a hiss like a snake. And I heard that snake hiss, and then BAM! It felt like I got hit in the head with a sledgehammer. There was a second one I never saw. He put a rocket right in my hatch. It blew my helmet apart. It blew one eye completely out of my head. It blew my second eye down into my sinus cavity. Okay, now hang with me. This story's got a good ending, so bear with me a little bit here. And my legs collapsed beneath me. I fell on the turret floor. My head and my neck were full of shrapnel. And I reached up. I was still conscious. I may not know many things else in my life, but the one thing I know is when you get knocked down, get up. So I stood up. I didn't really know what else to do, but I knew to at least get on my feet. So I stood up. I felt my head. I couldn't see anything. I couldn't hear anything. And I felt my head, and it was all wet. So I knew I was bleeding pretty badly. I knew I was probably going to bleed to death pretty quickly. But a tank crew's a 4-man crew. So I'm looking for my second in command, a fellow by the name of Corporal Chambers from San Luis Obispo, California. I'm saying, Chambers, Chambers. And I'm fishing around for him in that turret. He's my gunner, but he's not in the gunner's position anymore. He's gone. I couldn't find him. Because what that man did when he saw the Gunny was bleeding to death on the floor of the turret, he knew it was 400 moment stuff for him. He left his position without hesitation, without waiting to be told, and he went up and took command of that tank. Went up to the same place he'd just seen me get shot in the head. Then I looked around for that other fellow, the other fellow I told you about, Lance Corporal Hernandez. And when I put below the armor line, and I'm saying, Hernandez, Hernandez, I couldn't find him because he was gone. Because they knew an attack is like a one-way street. If they back up, they're going to put more people in jeopardy. So they had to continue to go forward. They had to continue to attack into the enemy. So he went up and manned his machine gun. It's like a one-way street. Now, I couldn't see these two men, but if I could have seen them, I'd have seen both of them were wounded themselves. I couldn't see them, but if I could have seen up there, I'd have seen the top of that tank was on fire. And there they were, fighting to save my life at that 0400 moment time. But they didn't know where to go. They had to get me to a corpsman. They had to get me to a doctor. I was going to bleed to death right there in the tank. And they didn't know where it was. Our youngest guy, the driver, Lance Corporal Frias, out of Los Angeles, 19 years old. Year before, he was at his high school senior prom. He said, fellas, I know the way. And they got me that medevac site, and I'm alive today because of those 3 Marines. So they got me there. They pulled me off the tank, and now it's time to start saving a Gunny's life. Corpsman starts working on me. He's applying direct pressure to my head. He's making all this chit-chat with me. He's saying, hey, Gunny, you married? Where you from? You got kids? And I know what he's doing because we've all been trained the same way. He's trying to reassure the casualty. He's trying to keep me from going into shock. Well, if you've ever been shot in the head, it makes you very nauseous. It makes you very sick to your stomach. So I told him, I said, look, man, I said, I know what you're doing. I said, I'm fine. I'm not going to go into shock. That's the only thing hurting me right now is talking to you because I'm sick to my stomach. So he says, it's cool, Gunny, it's cool. And he just keeps working. And there was something so reassuring about this guy that I just knew. I knew he was going to save my life. I knew I was going to be okay. I had no doubt in my mind. But nobody works alone in the military. So his boss comes over and he starts yelling like crazy at this guy. I thought I told you to talk to him. He's screaming at him, right? And so this guy didn't know what to do. So he starts saying, hey, Gunny, you married? Where are you from? You got kids? He starts asking me the same questions. And I didn't want him to get yelled at anymore. You know, I just wanted this whole peace and harmony thing to be happening in my medevac site. So I started trying to answer him, and then that's it. I lost my chow all over both of these guys. Just, blah! I threw up all over them. I know it's nice lunchtime conversation, right? I figured you guys could handle it, though. So right after I threw up all over these guys, right after, I start feeling all this weight being piled on me like they're trying to bury me. And I said, what are you doing? And they said, we're being mortar attacked, Gunny. They were under fire. They were being shot at. And what they were doing is they were taking off everything in the world that protects them. They were taking off their helmets. They were taking off their flak jackets, body armor, everything they had and piling it on my wounded body to give me that just slightly better chance of making it. I tell you, we talk about courage, honor, commitment, intangibles, belief in things bigger than yourself. I don't have vocabulary big enough for those 2 corpsmen taking everything off and protecting me. So, but things move fast when you're wounded. So they pull me out of there. I'm stabilized now, and I end up in a surgical unit. We used to call this surgical unit, we used to call it the animal hospital. And I don't know whether that was our joke for the doctors or the doctor's joke for us. I'm not sure. But I end up there, and they start working on me. Now, I got to tell you, shrapnel hurts a lot worse coming out than it does going in. So now it's starting to catch up to me. They're pulling this shred. If you ever had anybody digging your eyeballs with scalpels and stuff like that, it's not a pleasant experience, I can assure you. So they're digging in there. And now I start fighting with them. I start wrestling with them. And everything just stopped. And this doctor leaned down and he spoke into my ear. And he didn't yell, he didn't scream, he just spoke like my best friend. And he said, Gunny, you're going to have to work with me a little bit more here. And I remember I felt such shame. I was embarrassed. I'd always considered myself a Marine, a tough guy. And there it was, somebody had to remind me to man up. And I tell you, if you walk away from this speech with anything else, know that those 0400 moments, I'm thinking the 0400 moments are stuff, that back on the battlefield stuff, when you're facing that enemy fire, those 0400 moments will sneak up on you like nothing you ever seen. They happen at those times you never expect them. And that was one for me. I'd never expected it to happen right there on that surgical unit. That guy had to remind me of what to do. So I bucked up and I tried to man up for him, and he started digging in my eye and he said, can you see light? What it was, my second eye, well, the one was gone, but the other one was down in my sinus cavity. And they're trying to get it back up in the eye socket where it belongs. They're trying to figure out whether or not they're going to keep it or just enucleate it, just get rid of it. And they got to see if it can still see. He says, can you see light? I said, no. And he dug in that eye some more and he said, can you see light? I said, no. And he dug in that eye some more, and I tell you, I was ready to start lying to him just to get him to stop. But the third time he dug in there, I saw some light, just a bright flash of white light, almost like a camera flash. I said, yes, I can see light. And then they knocked me out. What he was doing was he was keeping me awake, keeping me cognizant, so he could ask me those questions. And I have a second eye. I have an eye now because of those surgeons, because of their diligence on the battlefield. But things move. My next conscious memory, I woke up, I felt like I was on something that was moving. I said, where am I at? They said, you're on a plane to Germany, dude. War was over for me. My life was getting ready to change, and I still hadn't realized it. My next memory, I woke up, I was in a seated position. Turns out I was in a wheelchair. A voice spoke to me out of the darkness, and he said, I'm the chaplain. You're at Landstuhl Army Hospital, Landstuhl, Germany. I had no idea where the heck Landstuhl, Germany was, but it was as good as anywhere else to be. He says, is there anything I can do for you spiritually, son? I said, yes, sir, there is. I said, there's a Bible verse my wife and I, we write back and forth to each other in letters. It's just a reminder of who we are and what we believe in. I said, could you read it to me? I knew it by heart, but for some reason I just felt a need to hear another human being say it out loud. He said, what is it? And I said, it's Romans 1:11. I could hear him thumbing through his Bible. He got to the verse, and it goes like this. It says, for I long to see you, that I might impart a spiritual gift, that you and I will be mutually encouraged by each other's faith. And it's the Bible's version of Semper Fi. It's about belief in things bigger than yourself. The chaplain says, wow, that's a good one. I said, yeah, I think so too. You know, who knows? Maybe he's reading it to guys over now. Who knows? But he says, would you like to call her? I said, I'd love to. So he asked me for the number. He dialed in a satellite phone, and he put the phone up to my ear. Now, I'm a dummy. I knew that your family got notified if you got killed. But I never knew your family got notified if you just got wounded. So I'm thinking she's going to pick up the phone. It's going to be like, hey, baby, you'll never guess where I'm at. So she answers the phone. She says, oh, my God, are you okay? I said, yeah. And she said, I heard you got your eye blown out. And I reached up, and there was a socket where my eye used to be. And I said, wow, I guess I did. I didn't even know that. I was amazed that she knew more about what was going on with me than I knew what was going on with me. Because I've been mostly unconscious since I've been hit. I had no idea any of this stuff. And so I started talking to her, and I started, doing all this lovey-dovey, hey, I love you, baby, all this stuff. And she's doing this weird conversation with me. She said, hey, remember last summer, me, you, and the kids, we went to the Grand Canyon on vacation, we went camping, we did this. I'm like, yeah, I'm wondering why she's taking this weird trip down memory lane with me. And a lot of times we go through things in life, we don't realize that the people around us are going through them with us. We get so focused on our own fight that we forget that we're taking a whole crew with us when we do these things. And she knew I'd been hit in the head with a grenade. She was trying to see if I actually remembered who she was, where we'd been, that we had kids, what her name was. She was triaging. She was seeing how bad I was messed up. And I tell you, those military spouses and all our families are tough. And I tell you, sometimes don't be the guy like me who's got to get hit in the head with a grenade before you realize how tough those people around you are and how much in the fight they are with you at all times.